Warriors Rising. This is Deanna, and today's the 24th of October, and the Watchman community we were looking at the onset of the rapture and tribulation, and we're still here. So we only can prophesy in part, and we can only, and on my part, I can only prophesy in part and tell you what I'm hearing from God, still considering that we're seeing in part. However, when I'm thinking, Luke 17 says that when that will happen, when the church will be taken, one will be taken, one will be left behind. Luke 21:26 says men's failing hearts will be failing, their hearts will be failing for fear, right? The Daniel's week and Jacob's trouble are about to start. And honestly, I don't even know how to keep up anymore with the news that are in such quick progression, happening at such pace, that what last year or even half a year ago things were happening maybe 1 week apart, that could be mileposts for the onset of the tribulation and the rapture in itself. Now they are happening 3-4 times events per day. And I have a bunch of news to share with you where we are at right now. But before that, I asked God, okay, where are we in this? And I had a dream 2 days ago. And this dream was, let me find it. It was, I dreamt that I was a military person, like a soldier, in the army, in the US Army. And that I was stationed I found myself, the first picture was of me being together with other soldiers at an army nuclear bombing command center, and above jets were flying, so things were happening very fast. The first image was being at this nuclear army, this underneath ground command center, like a bomb shelter, but it was a nuclear bomb shelter. And we were up in Alaska, actually. It was like everything was frozen, and so we were up in Alaska. But then when we got in, down inside, when I looked out the windows, so they were like, very small windows. You couldn't quite tell where you were because they were all the same. But when I looked outside the window, suddenly we were down in the Southern Hemisphere, like more tropical plants outside the window. And then in the next succession, we're doing something else. We were like very agitated because like things were happening above us. And people were shouting for orders and whatnot. And then when I looked again out the window, suddenly changed the picture with outside, the image outside the window, it changed with the Chinese type, Asian style plants, and they had like Chinese lanterns and hanging, and it was kind of bizarre. And I was quite confused, like, how is this, like, what's happening? And then again, so there were like, first, there are four army nuclear bomb shelters, command centers. There are 4 of them. So first was in Alaska when I was above. Then we got in, then it changed into the Southern Hemisphere, more like plants, like tropical plants and stuff. Then it changed into the Chinese, Asian style. And then it changed back to kind of regular foliage outside, how the landscape looked like Northern Hemisphere. And then I was like, what's happening? And then suddenly I saw somebody. Then I found another room where they had the command. Then I saw the command center where people were agitating and had their big, like I guess how Trump would have down in the basement with their command center and whatnot, something like that, you know, like military, you know, screens and a big table and a lot of brass going around. And then two people, how was it? So I saw the command center inside, but then two people got out, two brass people got out, and they exchanged some words, and I'm going to tell you what they exchanged the words, but they looked down and they saw they were waiting for somebody to come. I hid behind the door, and they said, well, they exchanged these words and say, make sure you do not tell anybody what has been discussed inside. This is something that only we know, and that's going to look like whatever's going to happen next. It's going to look, for the mass population, I suppose, it's going to look like something different, but just know that it's just kind of like a false flag thing. So whatever that was happening, all this bombing and whatnot, they inside had this conversation that they were saying it's kind of like a false flag type. Hold on. That's okay. And then, so I was kind of confused about it. They went back inside, and then just about when I was about to get out, kind of go back to my bunkers where the dream was, I saw three other brass people bringing in a native chief and a wife, like his wife. So there were two, but first one was a native chief, and he wasn't very happy. Like, he kind of looked very very disturbed a little bit, and then he dropped, the way I also knew he was a chief, he also dropped one of the blanket, like, you know how they're wearing those ponchos over, he dropped it, and I kind of also found it, and they were going inside where the command center was, and then I woke up, and I asked what this is all about. You know, I asked God. I said, okay, you gotta explain this to me. I'm not understanding. As many as you know, for the longest time I didn't remember my dreams anymore, and suddenly 2 days ago I started dreaming again, like very clear dreams. More feeling, having this prophetic feeling of these dreams. So these 4 Army nuclear bombing shelters, so to speak, command centers, were almost like in a cross. So in the north by Alaska, one in south, one in Asia, and one in our Northern Hemisphere. So I asked God, okay, what is this about? And I got a bunch of words that I heard. However, let me go back here. Let me see where we are. What I heard when I asked about who's this native man, I heard the word kasher chet, meaning the word is Hebrew 3787 kasher, and it means kasher chet means perfect sin. So a man of perfect sin. And the military metaphors in Jeremiah 51 and Nahum 3, because I also asked, what's up with these jets and flying jets everywhere? And I also heard the words about, oh my goodness, I don't know where this is, the words locust, cursed locust would be the words. And Nahum 3 compares locusts, overwhelming numbers, and rapid movement to describe invading armies. Revelation 9 later draws on the same motive, portraying hordes of shaped like locusts. And this continuity links historical judgment to the ultimate day of the Lord, urging readiness for Christ's return. Now, okay, and honestly, so I'm looking in the news now, okay, what is that potential, well, I'll say false flag, but also what's the pinlage that's being starring, that's going to make these things have, everything is in position already, right? So I looked at a whole bunch of news, and I honestly can't even keep up with the news anymore. Let's start with the first warship ordered to Caribbean just today, to the U.S. Venezuelan war now, on Trump's order. Orders Pentagon just sent the first warship to Caribbean. Let me find you the next ones. In the news, here it is, and I'm asking you what you think. In the news, yesterday, for the first time in 500 years, King Charles visited Pope Leo, I think is his name. And the question is, what are they, I mean, you know, King's visit to the Vatican is not something that everybody is doing this every single day, and this is the first time in 500 years that they went there. And usually historic records show that when the Pope visits, when the King visits the Pope, right, there is always a request for blessings, so to speak, or the, in quotes, religious blessings, for something major to happen. This was yesterday, and you see here Pope Leo, King Charles, and Queen Camilla in this big display of at the Vatican. Then today, Dabu7 reported that stage is set for chaos. Dems are launching ice tracker apps now, and Trump rolls out nationwide response force for deployment of military assets in the states, and they will be quickly deployed. I think there will be groups of 300 military deployment, National Guard deployments, but there's a little bit different. There'll be a little bit different, and that's the stage for civic war. Then we have something else that happened yesterday. Let me see. Russia arms itself with nuclear caliber missiles, large batch ordered after Trump and Putin's meeting failed. They were supposed to meet in Hungary, I think this coming week, and that has been canceled. Putin has considered, okay, I said that. Putin is considering, let me see where we are at. Putin is considering the fact that Trump just raised tariffs on the, or imposing big tariffs, or imposing on their oil refineries and the oil from Russia, as a declaration of war or an act of war. And one thing that I've learned, for example, just before the Second World War, America got involved, USA got involved, when Pearl Harbor got attacked by the Japanese, the same thing happened. So it was a tariffs war, economic war, so to speak, just before they decided to attack Pearl Harbor, to kind of kick in, right, the next step in the gears, what's moving forward. This was reported by the Real GS News. Then, that was the report. The other thing was reported by W7. Then, when I asked God, I said, what's up with okay, also something different. We are looking at, okay, let me see here. Right. Yesterday, Trump declared that Israel will lose all of its support from the US if it annexes the West Bank. And we talked about the situation between Israel and the US diplomatic relations where we talked about when the peace deal was signed, truly Israeli Netanyahu felt that he was kind of pulled into this conversation without their really wanting to do this. They have other plans for, you know, keeping the God's land all together. Hence, they wanted to annex. They are wanting to annex these two more territories or something like that, which I forget their names right now. And so these relationships are, this relation now is kind of like, and this was reported on Paul Watchman Dawson, just like the Bible says, Israel will stand alone at the end. Okay, then we have the 3i Atlas, which 2 days ago, the 3i Atlas, in quotes, comet, that has displayed, oh, hold on a second, my puppy is barking, hold on. If you know, the 3i Atlas comet, an interstellar object, has been, so 2 days ago, for the first time ever, the interstellar, it's called IAWN Comet Astronomy Campaign. So this campaign will target Comet 3i Atlas for the first time in history to be, and has been formally enrolled in a planetary defense level observation campaign. They are now doing this with, let's say, Comet Lemon or Comet, some other comets that are going around, right? It's just specifically this 3i Atlas. And there's plenty of reasons to consider, well, is this just a comet? Because it does not behave like anything else that we've seen before. And here is how this looks like. This was one of the latest images that got captured. However, everybody's wondering why is, and here is the announcement of the IAWN Comet Astronomy Campaign. Here's the document. It says, announcement of the campaign between November 27, 2025 and January 27, 2026. It presents unique challenges and is going to be, of course, they're going to look at this closely, but now they do have a formal way of looking at it and collecting data. And the question is, maybe you can help me, maybe you know more. Why is everybody silent about the latest images that got observed from the Mars, I think it was Mars, one of their units around Mars or on Mars. Everybody turned, so they turned when the comet passed by Mars. They turned their observation instruments towards, and they were taking very good pictures, but none of these pictures got released. Also, the Japanese instruments and the Chinese instruments, everybody took pictures. The European took pictures, but there is a complete silence of about this. I'm looking for through my pictures here where else I have. So the question is, what is this object? Now, they are looking, let me see if this is the one. Oh, okay. Now, what I found interesting, why I even got into looking at the news, is also because of, remember in my dream when I dreamt about the native man in the bunkers, in the nuclear bunkers, command centers, for all the places. I mean, could have been King Charles if you ask me, right? So why was that so important? So when I looked into I researched, and I found that the natives have a prophecy about the blue star Kachina, calling it a Hopi comet of doom. And this was reported on ancient, let me see here, on ancient, what's it called? Ancient Vision. And they are looking at the blue star Kachina, and if you've seen the pictures of a TI atlas, it looks actually blue. So there is the question that's being asked, well, especially since this is so much silence around what it is. So we're looking at the fact that even the Hopi prophecy, the natives, the American natives, in their prophecies, and everybody agrees across the board between all the tribes, saying that in their prophecy, first of all, they're considering that their ancestors came from the stars, so they call them star people. Then we see how they're aligning, they're questioning, well, is this comet that behaves so different than any other natural object, is this perhaps an artificial object? And I do have the, let me look for where the pictures are so I can pull you right there. Hold on. All right, so it looks like it's still filming now. Hold on. Okay, so we are looking at some major factors, or I would say description factors or behaviors of this comet atlas. Well, first of all, the mass, it's too big. It sits in right now at 33 billion tons, but the way it maneuvers itself, it doesn't, and the way it how the light shines on it is the brightness does not correspond with the heaviness of it, with the weight, saying that the way it moves, it should move differently if it's this heavy. And then they're looking at perhaps maybe it would only account for its numbers if you would have a hollow inside. So inside would be hollow. The trajectory comes only at 5% inclination with our solar plane. Then we have, let me see what else. Well, while it passed by Mars, even the other two stellar objects that passed through like the past 7 years, I think that we had two other ones, Oumuamua and another Boris or something like that. Even they, of much lower mass, did a little bit, they call it a gravitational signature tug on the planets as they go by. Well, this time around, Triad Atlas had zero signature, no signature whatsoever, which is unprecedented. Then, and here what it says, Gas Orbiter reported no perturbation while it passed by Mars, and these are all generated AI pictures. So things are changing quickly, and many are starting to notice as God Rules reported. And here is more about it. not only those things that I mentioned, but also the fact that okay, so it's being reported that while it reached perihelion amid orbital anomalies, it also has been observed a deviation in trajectory in the predicted orbit of 1,000,000 kilometers deviation, which is unprecedented. On top of that, we have when they took pictures initially in July, when they found it, the tail, so to speak, the light that would come and would be shining, you know, the tail that would be emitted with gases and everything was not at the end, like you have the comet and the coma, right, against the solar winds, right? So the solar winds would hit the comet, and then the more the comet would approach the sun, would lift and display a bright tail. Well, this time around, the tail was in reverse, pointing towards the sun, pointing in front of its trajectory, making it suspicious and questioning, of course, for good reason, how is this possible, and why is it looking like lights on a car, like lights on a truck, pointing the light in front of it. While it came very close just to go behind the sun, the light switched. So the tail, so to speak, or that light that was in front of the comet, now it switched and it went into the back. Just like, for example, when you park a car or when you brake, the lights show in the back, right? The red light, so to speak. So not only that, and you see that the more we dive into this, the more suspicious it gets, making it so that even the Harvard astrophysicist A.V. Loeb calling it as a potential. Let me see if I have it here. Okay, let me see. Oh yeah, okay. Calling it as with a 40% chance of being technological, of being, you know, alien, so to speak, right? And of course, the question comes, and he was asking this question, well, when it goes behind the sun where it is right now, so it already 3 days ago, 2 days ago, when it went behind the sun, where now we're in conjunction with Earth, Sun, and 3i Atlas. The question is, will it be using an Oberth maneuver, which Oberth was a physicist who discovered that in 1927, that when something comes very close to a sun, for example, it can pick on its gravitational attraction and use that as changing its speed or doing certain maneuvers. And it's, I don't understand the details. It says a controlled, precisely timed retrograde burn at perihelion. So a 33 billion ton object using an Oberth effect could potentially do certain things, change its trajectory, or Avi Loeb even asks and suggests, which I'm going to come back in a second, back later on to it. Okay, why all these suggestions suddenly? Why all this programming in the news, right? So nobody's talking about the observations themselves, as NASA always used to do, and together with the international observation, you know, where we found water on Mars. Everybody talked about it scientifically, right? So all these things, now suddenly everybody's quiet, and we have somebody else suddenly having the podium handed to them as in saying, well, here, let's talk conspiracy theory, seriously. This is what's all about. Now, when we watchmen were talking about weird things that were happening, we are being called conspiratists. Now we have somebody at Harvard who's doing this exact thing because he's speculating. He's speculating, but the way he says it, it truly sounds as in programming, as in mental programming, getting people ready, getting the planet ready for something artificial or some sort of artificial intelligence. And I know that they should be asking questions, but shouldn't they stay sticking with the facts and scientifically only? So the fact that this scientist now suddenly has a podium to go ponder around and, well, it's maybe this or maybe it's that. Because in another interview, he says, while it's in the blackout window behind the sun where no observations can be made by no instruments, because we are on this other side of the sun and all our instruments are rotating the planet, not and then every other instrument that's out there cannot, they have like a programmed internal computer that doesn't allow the instruments to point towards the sun because it would be ruining their lenses and whatnot. While it's behind the sun between October 22nd and November 7th, the question is, and it's quite suspicious that Harvard scientists would even talk about something like that, suggesting that it could release probes, release this or do that and whatnot. The instruments will pick it up again, able to observe it only after it comes from behind the sun, and that's after November the 7th. However, I don't think I have this right. In those 16 days, 3i Atlas raises true perihelion. So we are, right now, we were in conjunction with the sun, and then on October 29, it will be at perihelion, so closest approach to Earth, still behind the sun. So, and you can see here, so Earth is the blue dot, the sun is here, and then when it comes out of from behind the sun will be at perihelion. So it kind of moves to the left a little bit. It's going contrary, in contrast with how we're revolving around the sun. So then they're asking, well, what are they doing? Are they going to use that Albert effect to change and maneuver itself as a spaceship? 3i Atlas was also mentioned in L.A. Marzulli program, where he is talking about the fact that, are we actually looking at the coming great deception? This comet, in quotes, is this the comet that will create, or is this the spaceship or alien invasion that becomes the comet, the coming great deception? And he's even L.A. Marzulli, he's looking at the fact that the astrophysicist Avi Loeb says attack from potentially hostile alien threat could take place just in days. And they are not the only ones who are looking at something special, something different happening with the 3i Atlas, who right now is behind the sun, and we don't know what's going to happen when it comes away at November 17th, when it comes out from behind the black window, where right now we can't see it at all. There is the New Age spirituality community who, and I've taken a bunch of snapshots of what's happening on the internet and how everybody is going bonkers about this, where they are being led by the fact that the green light has been given to a Harvard scientist to speculate in this matter, right? To do a mental programming about, well, a potential alien invasion. / we Christians could we consider it as a as the great deception. Well, for example, Amanda on Ananda Frequencies, she says, well, 3i Atlas revealed what the Pleiadian High Council reveals. So the New Age spiritualists have sat down and channeled information coming from the Galactic Federation of Light, from the Pleiadians, Illyrians, who, well, they say that these people are on board, or humanoids, or whatever, aliens, starseeds, star beings, and she is not the only one. For example, 3i Atlas revealed what the Pleiadian High Council says. Then they are looking at Ascension updates. This is a spiritual community that considers evolving of the spirituality evolvement as something apart from Jesus Christ. They are looking at and I'm going to make a different video about all this, because it's such a rabbit hole, and it can literally lead to a potential onset of a tribulation. So, for example, Jeanette Bureau Medium, she says, well, Ascension update, what they are saying, right? What's on the starship? Is it a starship, comet or starship? Lead a Star Force Command. Star Force Commander speaks. 3i Atlas here to help by Lily Leaf 11. 3i Atlas here to help. And by no means, everybody is entitled to believe what they want to believe and have their own opinions. I'm not, our channel, my channel is not to, Lightwarriors Rising is not a channel to bash other channels or to, make fun of other people or none of that. But we are looking from a Christian perspective, from a Christian lens, at what is happening on a daily basis and what are the potential mileposts for the onset of the Jacob's trouble, right? David's week. Because we have people like, for example, again, Lily Nova Starseed, right? They are talking about the new human, where 3i Atlas way becoming a Jedi. They are playing with a mental construct where spirituality is looked at separate from Jesus Christ to begin with, and as something of more of an influence, an external influence, more so an alien external influence, right? They all are waiting for their Messiah, right? The Lyrian commander, I don't know who these people are, the starship commander who's going to come down and save Earth, and everybody's going to be taken away to the new Earth, and everybody is going to, they're all moving. A parallel story to the Rapture. And last night I listened to a show, and actually I would love to know which one was, because I want to give credit to them. Okay, I don't know where it is. Let me see if I can find it. Anyways, well, they, David Newerman or New, here, let me see if that's them. Well, they are saying, so they are saying, so the starseeds and the starseed community, they are the New Age community, right? They are looking forward to this interaction, alien interaction, thinking as if it's something good. And there've been prophecies, Christian prophecies by, Bible scholars and prophets saying that 2025 could be, or is, in their prophecies, they're looking at an anti-rapture. And it's an anti-rapture, meaning not a Christian rapture, not the Christians being taken away, but other people being taken away. So this is all troublesome. If you ask me, I believe it's troublesome. And it proves even more so how we are in a times where we all events all events are lining up, gaining momentum and gaining mass towards an event horizon that will be so intense and so catastrophic, displacing so many humans, right? In whatever ways these people are envisioning, right? So Akura says, well, the Pleiadians are here, and even last night, she was channeling the Pleiadians and the Lyrians that they're perceiving as being on this 3i atlas. So the deception is so strong. And when I asked God, I said, well, what is this all about, right? And I got the words about the 3i atlas and how the New Age community is looking at it. I heard the words katekeo chelek, or kelek. Katekeo being Strong's Greek number 2727, meaning to indoctrinate, and kelek is a Hebrew word 2506, meaning flattery. And think about it, the Bible even calls and says it's prophetically timeline aligns with a very flattering person that everybody will follow around, everybody will believe in what they're saying, and they will be the savior of the world. Where if you consider that there has been reports from whistleblowers saying, like even 20, 30 years ago, and I couldn't find. That was in the same time when Bob Lazar was coming up with his testimonies, what he saw at Area 51, and there was another lady who was saying that she was part of this government arm, that they were talking about a coming alien invasion, but as the blue beam type, as a false flag, so to speak, because to save humanity from the so many wars and the annihilation and all that. So I believe we are truly in such a times where, yes, let's stay watchful for when is the rapture. Let's follow, understand and be aware of where we are in the timeline, but also understand that we are having a parallel event timeline led one by the natives, tribes that are looking at the prophecy of the blue star Kachina, and star people are going to come and save us. Then we have the New Age community that are looking at their Messiah. Then we have the Muslim community, they are looking at their savior. All in this timeline, all right now, all happening, all the way till 1930. Then we have the AI, the super AI technology that's being pushed on us as a potential antichrist, right? And the Israelis, they are building right now their third temple. They just had their the sacrifice of their calf, of the I forgot how you call it, their heifer, right? And they are ready themselves to have the green light to build their third temple, waiting for their Messiah. So you see how this all lines up, and it's prophetically matching the Bible prophecy, where it says in the last days there will be so many, right? There will be so many things happening that just like in Luke 17, or well, if something so catastrophic will happen that one will be taken, one will be left, right, in the rapture timeline, right? So the church will be removed. And then, one will be taken, one will be left. Luke 21:26, man's hearts will be failing for fear. I mean, I'm asking you, what could those things be? Because it seems that our imagination doesn't have enough images to answer what could this be. What is this day of judgment? What is this tribulational set? What is Jacob's trouble in the end of all ends? And then we have somebody like a Harvard astrophysicist, like a scientist, who they've pushed so hard to differentiate science from religion, science from science fiction, science from conspiracy, or science from anything else, that now we're seeing the opposite of it, the upside down of it, where we have a scientist, Avi Loeb, talking conspiracy theory, really, on mainstream media, which makes you think and makes you ponder, what times are we living in? Because it all lines up so prophetically and so fast. News after news after news each day. So I wanted to close with this. Please stay prayed up. Put on your God's armor, body armor, and stay faithful and strong. And let's not get hung up on one day only of when the rapture will happen. It looks almost like it's a process, not just one day, or it's a process that will end with that last snatching or gathering of the bride. So brothers and sisters, please, if you like what we're doing on our channel, what I'm doing on my channel, please like and subscribe, comment, and share if you think this is important for somebody else who might want to know what this is all about, or what is happening with these news and the daily events. And like and subscribe, and I really much appreciate your comments, and much appreciate. I love you all, and stay close to God and Jesus.